It's the EP Podcast. Evergreen Park.
Sitting down here at the 9-foot homemade oak bar from District 124, which is doing so many amazing things. There's always changes each and every year, but there's some really interesting ones this year. Amanda Hattar is here. I'll introduce you first. You are their DEI Coordinator. Is that correct? How are you?
Yes, I'm doing well. How are you doing?
Good. What is a DEI Coordinator?
So DEI stands for Diversity, Equity, Inclusion. And just to summarize in short real quick, one of my main responsibilities in the district is to facilitate our DELT team, which is the District Equity Leadership Team. There's 5 strands in that team, and each strand looks at their piece of work through an equity lens. So for example, we have a teaching and learning strand, and we view the curriculum, but we do it through an equity lens. And so that's one of my main responsibilities, is facilitating that team for the district.
Okay, so there's a lot there, and yes. I asked you about an acronym, and you gave me another one. So
yeah, sorry,
which I love. I love that. It gives me something to unpack. So let's see if I get it, because if I don't get it, nobody listening will get it. Essentially, what you're trying to do is make sure that everybody is learning equally. Everybody's being taken care of on the same playing field. Is that the right way to kind of describe that?
Yeah, exactly. So I think it's difficult to make sure each student has equal outcome, but what we can help do is provide them with an equal opportunity. So at least they start off with the proper resources from the beginning, and so we can facilitate their learning process even better from there.
I'm going to have you introduce these guys because They're very interesting, and I've got some questions for you as well, but we've been hearing about them for a while because Central has 2 new deans. So who am I sitting here with?
Yeah, these are our guys here. We have John Jensen and Jaimin Smith. There are 2 new deans at Central Middle School, and they've been rocking it so far, and they can kind of talk about that.
Jaimin, you were a high school dean first, right? Welcome to the show.
Yes.
Yeah, so tell me first of all what the difference is going to Central compared to high school, because I remember my high school deans. I went to Brother Rice, and I had one that's still over there, Mr. Gleason, who my son now sees around, and he's not the dean anymore, but he's still in the building. And then I had another guy, Mr. Krajasic, who used to stand on the roof with a walkie-talkie and watch us walk in. He was nuts. And so like you could be a crazy dean, or you could be like, a buddy dean. What are you, a crazy dean or a buddy dean?
I like to think I'm a healthy medium.
Buddy dean, but I will go crazy on you. Is that a good description?
I'm not sure about go crazy. You'll run into the brick wall.
Right. Well, I would imagine it's also different, jump in, that it's also different when you have boys and girls. Like what I just described was an all-boys school. So an all-boys school, the deans can just basically, they can be harsh. You can be a little harsh in an all-boys. Guys can take it, right? You get both groups in there. It's different for everybody. So what is that like?
There's every place has a culture.
Okay.
And so when you have a co-ed school, being an administrator, period, is all about, it's a balancing game. It's this constant game of trying to understand what works for individual students. You really have to kind of understand who you're talking to, know a little bit about their family dynamics, and kind of understand what's the best way to move forward and engage with this particular student. Some students are very difficult to deal with, and they may be a result of some instability at home. Some of them have a very hands-on family, and generally when you see situations like that, it's because what it causes is students to react and interact with adults or their peers a lot differently.
It's one of those things where, like, I think as you get older, you realize that you don't know what everybody else is going through, what their story is, where they came from, how they got raised, where they may have run into some roadblocks. And you guys, it sounds like all 3 of you are trying to find a way to kind of help everybody navigate to a point, because, when you're at this age, especially over at the middle school, your book is not written yet. So it's probably a good thing to try to get everybody, who might be having an issue there's a problem, got to get back, got to get even with everybody else. It's good to have somebody that can do that. Your sports broadcaster friend here next to me, I'm joking with him because he had to wear the headset. Why don't you tell me about the Watchdogs? Because I hear this is this a new program, Amanda? Is that what it is?
Yes.
Okay, so what is this?
So the Watchdogs is something, it's an acronym, another acronym.
Another acronym. You guys, D124 has got a lot of acronyms.
So DOG stands for Dads of Great Students.
Okay.
So it's an opportunity for dads within the community to kind of jump into the school, take that leap into their child's education directly and see kind of what's going on within the building, what's going on within the classrooms, and check in with their student individually, but also kind of make that broad connection to all of the students throughout the building, like how Dean Smith and Amanda were talking about here, that we're trying to make sure that every student has an equal starting point within the building, and not everyone might have that connection with a strong male role model in their life. So it's a good way to get someone into the building that they can build a connection with outside of just the educators and administrators within the building.
I love how you just called him Dean Smith because I didn't put the connection together. He's got the name tag, and now I'm like, oh, he's got the same name. If you call him Dean Smith, it's the guy from North Carolina, the basketball coach. I love that. That's awesome. All right, so time commitment for that, the dogs. Like, first of all, I think if I were a dad and I had a kid in the school, I would definitely want to be a dog. So what does it take to do that?
So it really is an individual choice. It is one day at least you can sign up for. You have the option to sign up for multiple days throughout it. So you do have the opportunity to come in within the morning. At that point, you would be given some different type of job assignment. It could be helping with student control in the front. It could be helping with the cars going by. It could be something else within the building. From there, you would go into your individual child's classroom for that first period. And then throughout the day, you'd be placed throughout the building, maybe doing hall monitor. You could go into the lunchroom and help with the lunch staff and supervision. Just different things throughout the day to kind of get that parent throughout the building to see multiple facets of what's going on and not just one thing. But then they get to finish and wrap up their day again with their child. So there really is just a full day commitment they can do, but they could sign up for as many days as they would like.
You know, when you start a new job, and I've started many of them in my life, several different radio stations, a couple different professions. Hopefully I never get fired from this one, but I'm the boss. The thing that always happens is you almost get like a mandate by your employer, especially when it's a brand new position. So was yours, is it a focus on discipline? Is it a focus on support? Is it a focus on this dogs program? Like, what did you feel when you were both brought in?
I felt an incredible sense of support. It was very overwhelmingly welcoming for me and Dean Jensen.
And what you guys are looking to do is give support as well.
Yes. So that's deans always have two roles. Yes, we're responsible for kind of
scaring the hell out of them, right?
Yes.
That's what my deans did.
We're responsible for kind of dropping the hammer and disciplining students, and nobody really likes that. Nobody really likes to have to admit that they were wrong and that they made some type of decision or may have had some type of action that resulted in them being disciplined in some type of way. But you also have to level it out with the level of support. We always, my last boss always used to say, what interventions have been put in place for this student before we go this direction. And so I think that was always something that's always stayed in the back of my mind. And it plays such a paramount role in my thinking and my thought process for how I deal with students. What can be done to support this individual student? Yes, they get consequences, but after the consequences, then we put together a support team and we talk about what's the best way forward for you moving forward in our building.
Yeah, and that's a big thing that when I talk with students, and even if there's a consequence that comes with it or not, at the end of the day, just kind of communicating with them and letting them know that we're here to help you. If it is a consequence that you need, it's not something that I feel like we're doing in retaliation of behavior. It's to help you learn and teach you in that process of this isn't something that we're going to do here anymore at CMS.
Right.
And we're going to kind of continue to support the other students within the building by having this repercussion.
Awesome. Amanda, back to you. I saw that District 124 is getting involved. I don't know if you've already been involved in it, but Special Olympics, I saw something recently. Yeah. I have a friend of mine who actually is the co-host of my White Sox podcast, Sox in the Basement, and one of his kids participates in Special Olympics. So I'm curious, what is the participation level here with the district, and what are you guys doing with it?
Yeah, so I think overall our district does a great job of fostering a sense of belonging for everyone, whether it's the student level, the staff level, parents and community members. And so what we started last year was Special Olympics, which is a global organization, and it helps include students who have special education services included in sports. And we know sports are very powerful. It's a way to build community, relationships, make all students feel included and involved, and just have a place where they belong. And so that's what we're focusing on. That was, it started last year. We're doing it again this year. And we had 53 athletes last year. So we're hoping to increase those numbers this year and just keep it going every year.
Is it all track and field? Or like the way my buddy describes it, it's more stuff like that. So it's individualistic. They're doing something with a group, and they can find their niche or what they're best at because it seems to be in that vein.
So we want to grow into that where there's individual sports like basketball or volleyball, et cetera, right? Like different sports. However, we are starting off by doing a culminating event. Okay. So the athletes practice for 8 weeks, and then there's a 1-day culminating event that takes place that has 8 different events, and the athletes circle around and do all 8 events in that one day. So they range from basketball to volleyball, to throwing and catching. There's 8 of those stations that they do on that one day.
This seems like a wonderful idea for parents because, trust me, I wish all of their sports were in one day.
Yeah.
I would just take the day off. We'd have today is sports day, and then I never want to hear about your sports again. So I think that's absolutely incredible. All right, so how do people join in? Like, do you have any issues? I mean, you're district-wide. I'm sure you're sending things out. Is there still a call to action to get more people involved?
So we are strong with our 53 athletes from last year, but I think the more students that join, the better, always making it an opportunity for those students. And so starting, I want to say in January is when I'll start rolling out information on Special Olympics for this year.
All right. So January will roll out. So then I would assume it's a spring actual event type thing.
It starts in March for practice, and then May is the culminating event.
All right. Hispanic Heritage Month.
Yes.
That's what it is right now. I can tell. There's a lot of cars driving around with flags. That's how I always know that this is the month. So what is the district doing?
Yeah, so Mexican Independence Day is coming up. But the district is doing a lot. So we have 4 elementary schools, obviously, and 1 middle school. And we have students or teachers in ELA classes and history classes that are doing presentations and teaching about historical Hispanic figures. We have scavenger hunts going on. We have ofrendas being built in the buildings for display. I know we have BPAC, which is another acronym. There we go. It's our bilingual.
I love it. You guys have so many acronyms. What's this one?
It's a bilingual parent advisory committee, and they're setting up for Day of the Dead and just the celebration of our Hispanic figures. So something to look out for.
I think these things are cool. I mean, I notice sometimes people like they hear the DEI thing, and you have to know this with your title. Somebody's going to get like triggered by that. Like, what does that mean?
Yeah.
Like they're going to get, And to me, I look at it as I went to St. Denis Grammar School over 83rd in St. Louis, and I didn't know anything about any other culture until I got older. Mm-hmm. I didn't learn a thing. I went all the way through the 8th grade, and all I knew were the Irish and little German, little Italian like things. But I mean, I didn't meet a lot of other people. I didn't know a lot about other cultures. And in reality, I probably didn't have a good worldview till I got off to college. And when you think about that, that's pretty crazy that some people make it that far without learning about other cultures and how other people live and, different family structures and things like that. So I actually applaud this. I think it's a great idea to bring in all these things. So you're doing this month now, but I would imagine on the calendar, you have different things all year long, correct?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, there's Native American Heritage Month. There's Black History Month. I'm even right now planning on doing a cookout for Juneteenth. And, so we're thinking ahead, and that's all the way in June. So there's going to be something every month that happens.
That's awesome. Well, I would imagine you get a lot of people that have ideas for you.
Yes, and that's where that DELT committee that I mentioned earlier comes into play. They're the ones that help. There is a strand on that committee. It's called Family as Community Agency, and they're the ones that come together and brainstorm these ideas for these events.
All right. And if somebody wants to be a part of that,
reach out to me.
How do they do that?
My email.
The website?
My email is like the perfect spot, and then my last name, Hattar @d124.org.
All right. Shoot her some emails. I expect a
And
few.
for watchdogs, we're still recruiting, and you don't
Yeah.
just have to be a dad. You could be an uncle, you could be a grandpa. So we're still recruiting for watchdogs.
You're still recruiting for that.
Yes.
Okay. Well, then definitely people should get involved in that.
Yes.
Okay. I mean, that's the thing. If you're not willing to be a participant, you can't be that upset because it's a community thing. It takes a village. Okay. That phrase has been around a lot longer than anything around here. It takes a village. And I think that's a great thing. What you guys are doing is really interesting over there at the district. There's always some really great ideas that are coming out. You're always trying things from a different angle. And I just love it. And I love the fact that Evergreen Park has this district taking care of their kids. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
It's the EP Podcast. All things Evergreen Park. It's the EP Podcast. Evergreen Park.